Um, I want to ask a question that I just didn't have a time to piece it into our last conversation that was recorded, but you mentioned how maybe substances can dislodge the mind and
Mm.
maybe misorient. And could caffeine, could the types of food you eat, you talked about substances like alcohol and smoking, and those can disorient and
Mm.
misdirect. But could even the wet lifestyle and all of the basic constituents of what we put in our body affect with a placement of the mind?
Oh, that's that's very interesting. I was a fruitarian for a little bit over a year, and part of the deal was not to have garlic because garlic has an ability to split you in half in terms of your intelligence. And I was very, very light, very, very loving, very, very open. And I put a cloth over the lights and I put garlic on there so the place would smell like garlic. But when I ate garlic, my lightness just dropped, and I realized, ooh, garlic, and this type of that type of food, it did have a dramatic effect on heart consciousness. It my heart went like this and went, boom, collapsed. But in the same respect, I can still access that type of consciousness, whether I eat garlic or whether I eat, once I realized it, the power of discernment and the power of somebody's true abilities. Once they go beyond a certain point, it doesn't matter what you eat.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's a really very, very interesting affair. Yeah. And
Is it
it's really important. Yeah, go ahead.
because the level of controls is enhanced to such a degree that there is no uh, room for it to oscillate or ability for it to oscillate on its own or move?
Okay, this is a very interesting question because if my timeline is finished, and I know my life is over, but my life is still continuing. No matter what happens to my body, my consciousness still is rushing to its full conclusion, even though the timeline is finished. So then there is a certain aspect of somebody's physiology which isn't affected by any substance or anything when they get to a certain point. And it doesn't matter what you put in because you've changed to such a degree, your body, your spiritual essence has gone beyond that. So you'll find with a lot of the Indian masters, they'll take a whole lot of LSD and they'll be fine. It doesn't affect them. So it's so it the body gets into a subtle state, and you become very, very vulnerable. But once that vulnerability is then acknowledged, and you realize that your physical prowess has changed, then something changes in your essence. And that's I've experienced that, the weakness and the essence being changed because the evolutionary process is too hard on the physical body. Yeah, and that's the end of the timeline, but I'm not dead yet. No, I don't know how to explain it. So you're in a state of mourning, which gives reverence to every single circumstance. Yeah. And if you don't have the feeling that things are over, it's just like being in a relationship. You love somebody, you're brokenhearted, and that's the end of it. So and you're physically incapable of going forward, but it's over. That's the same as when your timeline's finished. You mourn for the very, very minute amount of time you got left with the people that you love the most, or the people you're dedicated to, depending on what type of guru you are. Yeah.
So how long before death can that appear?
For me, it was maybe 10 years ago.
And you still say that you have maybe 30 to 40 years left.
That's a very interesting question because every single day feels like um, if I can't disconnect from the feeling of how potent the rest of the time has to be because I know it's over.
Yeah.
Miss was going through exactly the same thing. She can feel it. So she's in a state of reverence and a state of deep communion in terms of being grateful. And I believe you're very close to it as well. And Dave's on the edge of this too.
Yeah, because I feel it too. It's like
Yeah.
for the last couple of months, I've felt like the veil is very thin.
Yeah. Yeah. So